Hey, what's up, guys? Mike Patrick. In this video, I want to talk about why things should be taught in a slow and repetitive nature, okay? Now, the reason I say this is because I love to ponder, like, what people would think, how people think, you know? And I like to try to take into consideration different ways of thinking and different angles that different people come from, okay, in order to try to be able to relate, okay, to as many people as I can when I am trying to do something that in which I want to relate to people. All right, so it just makes sense, right? to try to understand people. But we all know that everybody is not the same. So while you may understand different brackets of people, you'll never be able to satisfy everybody. You know what I mean? Being that division is so prevalent, you know. So with that said, now to get into why I think teaching should be slow, okay, and repetitive, it's because at the base of things, at the ground level of things, right? The way I look at it, what makes a good teacher? A good teacher is somebody who can teach somebody something and have them understand and grasp and comprehend what you are trying to teach them, you know, no matter how hard it may be for them to grasp information coming from something or somebody outside of themselves. If that makes sense, okay? So I like to think about how when I was in school, and the reason I like to teach this way is because I think about when I was in school, when I was younger, looking back on it now, I probably wouldn't have said this to you then, but looking back on it now, I think about how so many teachers were selfish, lazy, and inconsiderate, and very not as intelligent as they thought they were, or not as smart as they thought they were. You know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because if you are truly really intelligent and smart, you realize there are all different types of people, okay? And people think differently, people learn differently, okay? People process things differently, okay? And so when you're limited, selfish, because really being selfish and being arrogant, things of that nature, it all equates to really being primitive, basically. You know what I'm saying? You're not able to understand the all. What's the closest thing to you know, and with evolution, what's the closest thing to ultimate intelligence? It would have to be God, right? So therefore, and God is omnipotent, okay? So God is nothing that God can't grasp. It's nothing that God can't understand. So with that said, when people are arrogant, closed-minded, okay, let's say, what's the word? Not, I want to say racist. I want to say racist, but prejudice meaning, okay. So we know what prejudice means. So when people are prejudiced, okay, when they favor one thing that they feel like they can relate to, or what they identify with, as opposed to other things, that mean you're limited, as opposed to the overall idea and perspective, okay, and possibility of things. So the reason I say, once again, keep it simple, you know what I'm saying, or be repetitive, you know, and things of that nature, is because you want to break something down to where almost a baby can understand it. Because guess what? If a baby can grasp something, then you know that everybody else should be able to grasp it, right? If I'm in a classroom and I'm teaching a bunch of 20-year-olds, right? If I'm teaching it on a level and in a way that my 1-year-old or 2-year-old can understand it and grasp it and comprehend it and utilize it, right? then obviously these 20-year-olds should be able to do the same thing. But often, I remember growing up, man, you'll have teachers that were so arrogant and cocky, they'll think it was something wrong with you as a child. You know, you might have been 7, 8, 9 years old. And just because they were so arrogant, they didn't think they were the problem as a teacher. They thought that you were the problem. You see what I'm saying? Like, and so that's a problem. You see what I mean? When people are that imbalanced, like perhaps it's something you not doing. Now I'm not saying there are not kids that may need special, really got to be honed in on, but for a lot of kids, man, at least when I was growing up, kids could have did a whole lot better if teachers was more intelligent themselves to understand that maybe I'm doing something wrong as a teacher. You know what I mean? Maybe, we got different children with different personalities, different, ways of thinking and things of that nature. So maybe I got to try to understand the children in a way to where I can teach them in a way that's more beneficial to them, okay? And that's why you always have people that they didn't excel in the classroom, but then you'll see them excel in other ways, and vice versa. It's people who excel in the classroom and they didn't excel in other things, and then if you really was like really, really, really grasping, you would be like, well, what makes this person excel in this environment? What makes this person excel in this environment? It doesn't make either one of them any more smarter or less smarter than the other one. It just may be the environment may be more conducive. The situation and the way things are going on may be more conducive to how that person soaks things up and what they're able to understand. Okay? So what we have to realize is that if you break things down and keep things simple, and repetitive, okay, no matter who it is, okay, anybody has a better chance of understanding it, and you can reach a broader audience, okay? Now, some people may get frustrated. Some people may think that themselves to be so smart that it's like, I get what you're saying. You don't have to break it down like this. You don't have to repeat yourself, anything like that. There's some of those people, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But then there's other people who need that, okay? And it doesn't make you any smarter than them. It doesn't make you any better than them. It just means that, okay, maybe one of your so-called advantages is that maybe somebody could just say something one time or say something in a certain way and you grasp it and you get it. And, somebody else, they may not understand it the same way that you do. Just like if somebody comes from Mexico and they never heard English a day in their life, right? And then they come into our classroom, obviously, and they trying to learn English, okay? Does that make you any better than them? They have a whole nother language under their belt that you can't even begin to understand. But at the same time, they over here, and a language that you might have mastered, you see what I'm saying? They're trying to learn it, and they're learning that alongside of what they already know. Okay, and so therefore we have to look at things in that manner. Okay, we have to have patience. Okay, so what I'm gonna say is, and this is not nothing nobody said anything to me. This is just something that's on my spirit, on my soul. Like, everything ain't for everybody, man. You know what I mean? That's why if you look at YouTube videos, if you look at anything, if you listen to people talk, there's nobody or nothing. There's not a message. There's not a person. There's nothing that people wholeheartedly 100% support or back or agree with. Okay, all right. It's people who think we have atheists out here who don't believe there's no such thing as a God. And then you got people who think that Christ is God. And you got people who think that God is Allah. So you get my point, bro. We'll never get to a point. I ain't gonna say we'll never get to a point, but right now we just ain't at that point where anybody's gonna wholeheartedly agree with anything. You see what I mean? So you're gonna have skeptics and criticism and things of that nature. But the reason I choose to break things down is because I think about myself as a child and the people I'm trying to reach. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not trying to reach people who already know certain things. I'm looking at it like somebody who may have the potential to go further and learn certain things, and the Father may put them or are going to put them in a position to go further. And so, but they need the foundation, they need a ground level understanding, and they don't have that. I'm looking at it that way. I'm looking at it like my children. I got my oldest child, my oldest biological child, 7 years old. My oldest child is 13. So therefore, I'm looking at it on a level of like, let me, you know what I mean? How can I explain it in a way that they gonna grasp it? Because I don't necessarily expect people that I grew up with necessarily to listen to what I'm saying and try to grasp it. You see what I mean? So I know this is gonna be more for people that's younger than me, or somebody like my children, and you put stuff in position for them so they can move forward. You know what I mean? And so that's why I break stuff down in a certain way. But a lot of people, even if they 70, they so ignorant. I'm not trying to say that in a negative manner. Ignorance just means you don't know. You don't know no better. To where is this the best way for them to try to grasp certain information if they ever come to the point of wanting to learn something different or new or alternative or whatever, you know? So hopefully this was a helpful video, guys. Peace.